At this location, 125 years ago, a small group of God's faithful joined together to begin a journey of faith that would span across generations. Through the years, St. Peter Lutheran emerged as a place of worship, fellowship, and spiritual growth. Hi, I'm Pastor Mark Holmes, and for the past 12 years I've served at St. Peter Lutheran Church in Grimes. I've seen our congregation and community grow and change in some exciting ways. Since 1884, the people of St. Peter Lutheran have seen 3 different and distinct church buildings, 17 pastors, 2 members who have been called into the ministry, and literally hundreds of families who have made St. Peter Lutheran their church home. Our congregation's passion for the ministry of God was built upon the foundation of those that came before us. So let's take a look back at where we started and follow the path that defines our legacy of faith.
In 1884, 2 groups of German settlers from Polk and Dallas County, living in the vicinity of Grimes, Iowa, organized a congregation under the name of St. Peter Evangelical Lutheran Church. Services were held once a month either at Purdue School, a small rural schoolhouse northwest of Grimes, or east of Grimes at the Seibert School in North Walnut Township. On September 4th, 1887, with approximately 30 families on parish records, a congregational meeting was held, and a resolution passed, with God's help to build a house of God. Under general supervision of Charles Weiser, a 28-foot by 42-foot frame building and a 50-foot high steeple tower was erected with an altar, 6 feet deep, and a 12-foot by 12-foot hall inside. Carpenters and congregation members worked together, many donating their time to complete the church. The church was dedicated to the service of God on March 4th, 1888. A parsonage was acquired for $350, and our first resident pastor, F.W. Schneider, was named, replacing Pastor Schoenlein, who had served since 1884. Pastoral duties transferred to Pastor Henry Schoenlein in 1895. A church bell with the inscription of 1900 was donated by William Aulich. This church bell still rings out every Sunday from the current building's bell tower located on South James Street. The first meeting of Ladies' Aid was June 30th, 1912. This group focused on charity works and deeds of mercy within the community and abroad. Bible study was a main part of the meeting. Ladies' Aid would become American Lutheran Church Women in 1960, reorganized in 1988 as the Women of the Evangelical Lutheran Church of America, more commonly referred to as WELCA.
Women have always had a very important part in sustaining the ministry and mission of the church.
My first recollection of the women of the church was the basement church ladies in their white organdy aprons serving wedding luncheons on the glass formal plates.
But one of the things that St. Peter Lutheran women were very active in, as well as many other congregations, was that of making quilts. And there was a regular so-called quilting circle.
And my daughter told me, she said she remembered when I would go to Ladies' Aid or Circle, I always dressed up in heels and hose like I was really going out. And I said, well, it was nice. We had nice meeting. We had a business meeting and we had Bible study, and then we always had really good refreshments.
We got to know each other more deeply, you know. We wanted to do this so we could get to these people that needed them, these quilts, and it was fun doing it. And we had a lot of laughs, and we had a lot of good little lunches, and pretty soon we were getting bigger and bigger, and more gals were coming out.
Once you belong to our church, you don't have to apply to belong to the women of WELCA. You're just in there.
After 29 years of service from Pastor Schoenlein, F.O. Bunge became St. Peter Lutheran's new pastor in 1924. That same year, a new parsonage was purchased for $6,000. As the congregation continued to grow, the question was raised about providing a more adequate facility. At the 1937 annual meeting of the congregation, the decision was made not to enlarge the facility, but to construct a new building on the same lot. The new edifice was oriented, as churches were from earlier times, east to west. The cornerstone of the new church was laid on November 14, 1937, with the dedication of the new facility held on July 31, 1938. The new church had beautiful stained glass windows that told the story of Christ's life, baptism, and the symbol of St. Peter.
In the 60s and 70s, somewhere along in there, we organized the kitchen band, which was kind of a popular thing. Instruments included things like the washboard, pots and pans, and those who had no instrument could hum on the kazoo. Oh, one other instrument was farm women would know about this, but was the disc from a cream separator. If you ever had to wash a separator, that was the thing you disliked the most, but they made a real nice addition to our band.
While pastoral duties had been shared with the Lutheran Church in Boughton, discussions began in 1949 as to whether St. Peter Lutheran in Grimes could obtain its own pastor. Membership was increasing rapidly, and in 1954, Pastor Leo Whittle was called as the new pastor.
In early 1961, I received a call asking if I would please go and discuss these matters with a congregation in Grimes. And the result was that I received a call to come to St. Peter Lutheran Church. We were a young family, and the congregation was looking to call a young pastor. They had recently lost their pastor, Werner Fritschel, and died here just a few months before we came.
Over the next 20 years, extensive remodeling to the basement was completed, providing additional space for Sunday school and a new kitchen. A newly added upstairs narthex, pastor's study, and secretary office were among the renovations. Members also volunteered at the Hawkeye Antique Acres fundraiser from 1986 to 2003.
That is an antique tractor show that was held twice every summer.
It was mainly used as a fundraising. Again, it was also looked upon as a service project also for the kids, but it was a very good opportunity that the church provided the youth to earn monies for any large trips.
Then in the early 90s, we were asked by the association out there to run the main food stand, which was a big undertaking for our church, but we did it for many years. We had to order all the food, we had to manage the work shifts, which involved a lot of our members coming out there and working. Another fun activity that all ages took part in when I first joined the church back in the 80s was we would have outdoor worship services every summer, and it was at our stone church on First Street, and we would hold it right out on the front lawn. We would have our service outside. We would have like a picnic dinner. Everyone would bring their own picnic, and then we would play games. We had volleyball set up. We had kick your shoe contest, whoever shot it the farthest, and we would catch raw eggs, have the egg throwing contest. It was just a fun way for all ages to be involved. The older people would bring their lawn chairs and just sit and watch the rest of us play.
I think the variety of generations helps us to become stronger because we haven't given up on the past. We've held on to a lot of tradition. We've valued that, and that's helped our younger folk to respect that more.
We have lots of new members, and we have all ages of members, and I think that's what's going to keep our church going. It's not us people our age, it's the younger people, but the new members are all ages, and I think we're very blessed to have that.
And so I think it's healthy to have a lot of younger folks, some new blood, so to speak, in here, to give us a wider picture of the world, kind of the rich diversity of God's world, so to speak.
I remember when Fantastic Day Parade started, and what our church did was offer a pork chop dinner that weekend. And we would set up grills outside the church, and we had great attendance. We'd serve a wonderful meal, and we were right on the main street, so lots of people came to our meal. Now, during Fantastic Days, there's always a parade, but what we've been doing the last few years is involving our families, our children, anyone who wants to be involved can meet at the church at a certain time, get in line for the parade, and walk it and hand out popsicles, water to the community, and just be a representative of our church.
Well, one of the things we've gotten started is the senior dinner.
We started out with about 55 people, and in just a short while we were up to 100, and now it runs around 85 to 100 and a little more. And it's very nice because people from all the towns around here come. You know, there'll be people from Dallas Center, Granger, Grimes, Des Moines. They pass the word around.
Simply sitting in the pew on Sunday morning is a nice first step, but I think our goal needs to be building disciples. There's so much more work that needs to be done. We need to find ways that we can serve and reach out to those in need. That's the calling that Christ gives us.
I joined the choir back in the mid-late 80s, and there were about 16 members at that time that I remember. I was asked to fill in as the temporary choir director back in 1994. And guess what? I'm still temporarily directing here in 2009. I truly enjoy the camaraderie and fellowship with the choir. They're a great bunch of dedicated people. We have around 28 members today, and with a variety of ages participating. Music has always been an important part of my worship experience, and I hope to continue sharing my music ministry here at St. Peter in the years to come.
I received the call to come here in 1997. Prior to my coming, there were two interim pastors, Meyer Hersberg and Alfred Walk.
About the time Pastor Mark came, we were really experiencing our sanctuary at the Stone Church. Our services were full. We just were really cramped for space. So we had to start thinking about what are we going to do.
When I came, they were talking about doing an addition, which I was behind 100%. We called an architect in who looked at the plans and said, looks great, where are you going to park? And at that point, we decided we needed to look for other land because we were landlocked and really didn't have the option of growing where we were at if we wanted to continue growing as a congregation.
1 year later, members voted to purchase 5 acres of land for the purpose of constructing a new church on South James Street. December 5th, 1999, the floor plan and building model was presented to the congregation for evaluation. 7 days later, the motion to accept the floor plan and approve direction of the long-range committee was made and passed. The budget was established at $1.8 million, and a sign was erected declaring 1001 South James Street to be the future home of St. Peter Lutheran Church.
April 1st of 2001, we broke ground for a new building. The congregation had voted overwhelmingly to move ahead with that, and it was an exciting time for us. We were able to grow with the community. Grimes was exploding as far as the population at the time, and we had the opportunity to move to this new place. And I think it gave the congregation kind of a pioneer spirit, that we took ownership in this, that we were doing something new and exciting.
The St. Peter congregation celebrated its final service in the First Street building with a Christmas cantata and Holy Baptism on December 9th, 2001. The following weekend, a worship and dedication service was held on December 16th, 2001 at the new location, with Bishop Philip Haugen of the Southeastern Iowa Synod presiding.
So new families started coming to our new church, and they liked the openness of our church. There was room for everyone.
It's important for us to remember, though, that the building is merely a tool for us to further our ministry. Certainly this tool has given us the opportunity to bring in folks who are handicapped. We no longer have the stairs. So we've opened the doors to more folks, we hope. And we need to remember that it is just a tool, a vessel, a vehicle in which we do ministry in this place.
So our congregation grew really fast. And now we've had to add on more Sunday school space, and now we're talking about phase 2.
We do want to grow because that is our call from God, to share that story and to bring those folks into the community. But we're also growing in other ways. With the addition of Pastor Grant here, we've expanded our programming needs so that we can share the word with those and grow spiritually as well as growing the physical plant.
As ministries of St. Peter Lutheran Church continued to grow, Small Miracles Preschool, a faith-based learning center for 3 to 5-year-olds, began classes in 2003. A youth director position was also added, sharing ministry responsibilities with Riverside Lutheran Bible Camp.
One of the most important things that we do in youth group is to continue to build friendships within our youth group. Also, we're able to help build the moral character of our youth and continue to strengthen their relationship with God throughout the ever-busy world.
We need to emphasize the importance of early Christian education in every person's or every child's life. And the earlier we bring those children in to really follow the Lord, the more equipped they will be in turn to bring the message to their neighbors, to other children with whom they play.
The adage, "It takes a village to raise a child," is especially true for our family. As a leader in this congregation, it's been wonderful to see people kind of take my kids under their arm and sometimes give them a stern warning, sometimes give them a hug. They need that, and it's wonderful that they've got some built-in aunts and uncles and grandparents and siblings here in this place.
Following my baptism as a baby, my first recollection after that at St. Peter was the going to Bible school. We studied and learned about Jesus and played games out on the lawn. And it was so different than regular school that I just thought it was just really special.
The church doesn't have to be boring. It can be fun. They can still learn about Christ's ways. We're planting a seed. You like to hope it takes root, and I guess that's what we always thought. We planted a seed.
Hi there, it's Sunday morning here at St. Peter Lutheran Church, and we're just getting ready to go into worship. And really, there's no better way to celebrate our past and start thinking about our future than by worship. It's worship that we start dreaming about the future. It's worship that we start asking God, what do you have for us in store? What's in the next 125 years? Or even the next 10 or next 5 years? It's in worship that we start asking these bold questions, these daring questions, and we imagine what God has in store for us. We celebrate the way that we're connected together. We celebrate the way that God is challenging us and growing us, inviting new families into our family. We celebrate the way that we teach our children, the way that our children grow in their faith and inspire us to have a wild and carefree faith. Well, I believe that God has big plans for us. It's just up to us now to be ready to receive those plans. To ask, God, what do you have for us in the future? If we will allow God to move among us, to challenge us, to grow us, we will experience God as we move together in our fellowship and our worship and our service together, beginning here in this community and stretching to the ends of the earth.